Welcome back to Better Living. I'm joined now by Dr. Brooke West from the West Toledo Animal Hospital. It got cold.
Yes.
It got cold, it got snowy, and guess what? Dogs don't like that. They don't like to go out in that.
No.
I learned firsthand, yes.
Yeah.
My dog was like, oh, are you kidding me? I'm not doing that. No,
Well, dogs and pets in general, their cold tolerance is just like in us. They all have different ones. And depending on their coat length, their activity levels, their fat stores, their health, their age, that will all depend on how they deal with the cold. And we've kind of domesticated them quite a bit as well. Yeah. And so they're used to the nice, cozy, warm homes instead of being outside in that bitter cold, just like we would not like to be.
Well, we kind of make fun a little bit of all the little coats and, you know, sweater. And I will admit, I bought it because I couldn't find the dog's coat. I did buy one last year, a little coat.
Yeah.
Who knows what happened to it since then. So I picked up a little fleece, you know, jacket thing to put on him again. We give, but those are important. We need to get those.
For all our short-coated dogs, it's very important because they don't have that extra layer of fuzz that some of the Arctic breeds have. And so they're just as cold as we are out there, even with a fur coat. So putting on a little jacket or a sweater, putting on little booties to protect their little feet is very helpful.
Well, let's talk about those feet, especially if you can get them to go outside and not in your house, which I'm still working on. What do you need to worry about the paws? Not only, I think there are probably two things we need to worry about. Number one, the cold, but then also there's got to be salt and stuff out on the ground that they're getting on their paws.
Yeah. So a lot of the breeds that have a lot of hair in between their toes, they're also an important one to watch as well, because just like us, we get cracking and drying in our fingers and our feet during this time of year, and they get the same thing. So it's important to check their pads and paws for any cracking or bleeding. And then the hairy-toed dogs, you want to look for any packed-in ice or snow that can get in there and just create like a little ice cube. And then also we want to watch for any of the salt de-icers that they're putting out there, anything that's chemical, antifreeze, things like that, that needs to be washed off of their paws when they come in.
That makes sense, that we could wash that stuff off.
Yeah.
What do we do about the cracking? Is there something we can put on that?
You can put on regular lotion or bag balm, you know, any of those type of things to help with the cracking, or you know, putting little booties on them when they go outside.
Now let's talk about dogs that are normally outside. They can't stay outside when it's this cold.
No. Below freezing, it's not safe for anybody outside. And if it absolutely has to be that they must be outside because they can't come inside, they need a very warm, solid shelter. And they need the floor needs to be elevated. They need to have their water checked regularly because these things will freeze. They need thick, dry bedding, because if it gets wet, it's just as cold as anything else. And you need to position it away from the winds. You know, the winds don't need to be blowing straight in on their surfaces. And then we want to be careful with heating lamps and space heaters because they can cause fires. And if we have heating pads, they can cause burns because if they stay too long.
It seems like common sense, but it seems like every year you hear stories or you see things, and not just dogs, also bigger animals like horses, or thinking about like goats and other things that aren't normal animals, you know, aren't animals that everybody has, but there are always a few that you see, and even some neighborhoods there, you know, it's a random, somebody has a different kind of animal. If you see something that you feel like perhaps is out of the ordinary, you see a dog or even maybe a bigger animal and you think, oh my gosh, that just can't be right. What do you do? You call animal control? What do you do? You
can call animal control. You can call your local veterinary hospital just to ask, you know, what are the parameters and what maybe they would suggest. And yeah, you're always welcome to call any of the shelters or humane societies for advice or opinions.
Here's another thing I think people probably don't think about. Cats crawling up into cars. How do we check?
So it happens all the time. It's a warm environment, especially after you get home and the engine is still hot. So they'll crawl up in there quite frequently. And so it's important to either look under there, bang on the hood of your car, or honk the horn several times before starting, especially if you live in an area where you know there's a lot of feral cat population.
That's a good idea, honking the horn. I didn't think about that, to get them out of there, because that makes sense that they would climb in there.
Yeah.
Well, if you have questions about how to keep your pet safe or you need a new vet, West Toledo Animal Hospital can definitely help you out. All you have to do is give them a call today, or you can visit them online. They will answer your questions. They can answer your questions if you have issues or you think you may have issues if your pet has gotten too cold, or how to take care of your pet in the cold. West Toledo Animal Hospital. We'll be right back on Better Living.